Okay, so this is the first match of the Iron Man Maurice and friends against Cookout, and I'll probably do this mostly on 2 times speed as usual, unless someone's playing fast or someone's playing slow. So Maurice, I believe, is on Trap Tricks, and Omari, I think, might be on Branded. But let's see. This is also my first time watching these matches. So Omari wins a dice roll, I guess, starts off with Fusion Deployment. So leader of Maurice and Friends, Maurice, and leader of Cookout, Omari, starting off the Iron Man. And Fusion Deployment brings out Dark Magician, it looks like. Then he activates Branded Fusion. I have no idea what either of these deck lists look like. So Branded Fusion sending Fallen of Albaz. And might actually have to go a little faster because this whole video is like an hour long. And Despian Tragedy. So it looks like pretty standard branded stuff so far. Bringing out Lubellion, activating Lubellion Chainlink 1. It looks like he's pitching another fusion deployment. So he drew 2 fusion deployments. And then Tragedy is Chainlink 2. So Maurice chains Imperm, which obviously you can't chain block. So Lubellion is negated, and he has no way to dodge that. So let's see what Tragedy gets here. Obviously, he can only use one Tragedy effect in a turn, so he can't banish it for the other effect. And Omari adds Quem, one of the new cards for Branded. Guiding Quem. So let's see what the extenders look like here. So we're summoning Quem. Looks like maybe, I'm not sure if Maurice is bluffing or if he actually has something in his hand that he's considering using. In Trap Tricks, there are lots of different builds for Trap Tricks. Obviously, we've seen Imperm already. The structure deck comes with Evenly. Not sure if there's like a standard hand trap lineup for Trap Tricks or what, but kind of more of a combo deck than a trap deck these days. All right, so Shrouded Dragon is going to the grave. Shrouded Dragon effect. Looks like I'm gonna have to speed this up a little bit. It's already on 2 times speed, but so Shrouded Dragon. Going back to the bottom, dumping Retribution. So Shrouded Dragon always been part of the standard combo since Branded first came out, because all these cards are in the structure deck. What's this? What's this card in his hand? Okay, Cartesia. It looks like that's Cartesia, right? Yeah, that's Cartesia. So Cartesia effect. So he does have a way to extend through the Imperm. Otherwise, you would probably just lose. Going for Grand Gugnol, or however you say it, the Dusk Dragon. Dusk Dragon, pretty cool card. I wonder who that is picking up the cards and reading them. Do I have to speed? I'll put this at 3 times speed, guys. 3 times speed. Okay, Gimmick Puppet. Going for the Gimmick Puppet lock. Extremely cringe, but that's Branded these days. Banishing Retribution, getting back Branded Fusion. Okay, now let me slow down because I think Maurice is probably going to play quickly. So Gimmick Puppet in the graveyard. Branded Fusion in hand for next turn. So if the Gimmick Puppet resolves, usually that means the opponent will lose. Maurice does start off with a Pot of Prosperity. Assuming he banished 6? Yeah. We already see evenly matched. We see 2 Imperms, a Pudica. I don't think I can see the first 2 cards. I can't make those out. 2 Imperms, Pudica, Holtia, evenly. I'm not sure what the first card is. Are his options. Okay, choosing evenly. So I would assume if you don't have any way to deal with the Gimmick Puppet lock, maybe your play is you just want to put them on as little cards as possible to to hope to be able to play on the next turn. And maybe you've drawn some traps and you can survive off the traps. But in most trap trick builds, you don't actually play a huge amount of traps, to be honest. I mean, it's usually like you're just choosing the traps that you want to search for through your combo. But anyhow, Omari is making Dragoon, so he already had the Dark Magician, and Fallen of Albaz is a Dragon monster. So there's only one vanilla that was used as material for the Dragoon, but obviously he's making it on resolution because he doesn't want to get evenly matched. So the question is, now that he knows there's evenly matched, is there anything that he can? Okay, so he's just gonna force the Dragoon, I guess. No point putting something on field and then you can't even use the evenly. Might as well trade the effect for the effect. So no battle phase now. Otherwise, if there was a battle phase, maybe there could have been some Baguska play um, for like a Zeus to send the Dragoon or something. We see that he pitched Branded Loss to use Dragoon. So yeah, he did bring out the Fallen of Albaz to have the material for the Dragoon. So it looks like we might actually be playing some Yu-Gi-Oh here. So he didn't lose to the evenly matched. And I believe this is the spell card that allows you to get an extra normal summon. I haven't actually played Trap Tricks in a while, so I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so there's a second Murmello. I think that's Floodgate Trap Hole that he's adding. I think that's Floodgate Trap Hole. Unless it was Holtia and I didn't see correctly. We'll soon find out. And Holtia is obviously the one that you can set and use it this turn if you discard one, and then that's like material that you can use, or you can do it on your opponent's turn sometimes. All right, so Baguska in defense position, which is pretty good if he has some like actually useful trap. Baguska only stopping activated effects, so I don't know if he can actually clear the field this way. That looks like Alex. Who's nasty Bigfoot is that? Any bottom of the screen. Anyhow, all right, we might have to speed up a little bit here again, fellas. From 2.5 times speed. Okay, Despian Tragedy was in the grave from before, so I believe he's banishing it to use the effect. Camera angle is a little bit off, guys. Not gonna lie. Anyhow, Branded Loss is now on the field. Somebody keeps reading Tragedy. That's Alex. Well, man, don't see bad, so you can't. Yeah, okay. So, camera finally being fixed. Not completely fixed. Oh, there we go. Now it's only cutting off some of the graveyard. But Baguska's still on the field. It was just out of vision for a moment. What is going on? What with this technology? Man's bringing out his phone torch to read cards or something. Anyhow, bringing out a Link monster. So since Link monsters can't go in defense, obviously unaffected by Baguska, because Baguska only stops the monsters that are in defense. And one of the traps he set was Holtea, and you don't have to discard if you had it set previously. That's just if you wanted to use it the same turn. Ash Blossom is going to stop the Link one for now. I think it looks like Omari has two cards in hand, and one of them we know is Branded Fusion. I don't think that we know the other two. He just drew one, and I don't believe that we know what the other one is, because the thing he got back from Tragedy, I believe, was Brand Loss. So Maurice is sitting on a Baguska and a set trap, and he had an Ash Blossom in hand. Okay, so there's the Ash Blossom. Wait, is he trying to negate with Dragoon? I'm confused as to what's happening. Or why is the tactics going to the grave? Okay, I'm not sure if he tried to negate with Dragoon or why the tactics went to the grave there. but you can't actually hear anything through the audio because everybody's shouting and it's extremely noisy. But anyhow, there's a Baguska on the field. That's what matters. Baguska no longer has any materials, so he's not going to be able to pay the maintenance cost. So he can't actually continue squatting on Baguska. There, okay, so that Baguska is gone. Now I can't see if Omari doesn't if that card that set card was his hand or if he set that. If he has no hand, obviously he doesn't have a negate for the Dragoon. Um, but Maurice is bringing out. It looks like Mermello. So you see some card economy change here. Dragostapelia. Is it only Dragostapelia, Grand Gugnol? So if I saw right previously, the set card that Maurice has is Floodgate, but I don't know if it was just the Holtea that he already used that I'd seen, and it wasn't actually Floodgate, and that's an unknown. Which is what it looks like the outcome of this game would depend on what that card is. Maurice Man reaching his whole arm across the entire table. Fawn of Albaz. Okay. All right. So adding the branded hand trap, the Mercurier, to hand. Also, so the set card was that new card, name of which I can't remember, the light and dark support card. I actually don't remember what the effect of that is, but anyhow, it's pop, so it doesn't come up, so it doesn't matter, guys. Don't worry about it. So Fallen of Albaz using the Link one as material to make Mary Jade. Okay, it was a floodgate, so I did see correctly. Okay, I think maybe Maurice had tried to use the floodgate, but Branded Loss was on the field and he could not respond to it. Is that what I just saw? So he makes Time Thief Redoer with a trap card, which is pretty standard stuff. Looks like there's a Mirror Jade there to banish Time Thief, and I'm assuming that Time Thief was chained. I obviously can't hear the chain links because there's like the audio. Like I can't hear anything from the audio. Bit of extension here. So Parallel Exceed is I don't know if it's standard at this point, but one of the at least when the deck first came out, one of the standard extenders for being able to make additional rank fours. Um, okay, looks like he's not sure what to make at the moment. So he decide on Rafflesia. And maybe he's just thinking of a way to get to Zeus, because I guess most people would only play one Baguska if you're trying to dodge, or rather just be unaffected by targeted effects. Some dojo interference here as Alex places his hand on the mat for the 17th time. Let me see if I can hear anything. Okay, so Zeus resolves successfully, and it looks like Mare Jade's effect applies so that Zeus is destroyed in the end phase. And this is kind of a long game one. But if you have no resources in hand as a branded player, you usually can't draw one card unless it's branded fusion that will allow you to continue playing. I wish I could like properly hear the audio though, but anyhow, so siding is taking place. I'll skip forward. All right, so Maurice goes first. So the Zeus after Zeus was destroyed, I guess didn't have like any resources to continue pushing, and so Maurice chooses to go first and gets drolled, but manages to make the link one. And with the extender in hand, that's the one that you can special from hand if you control a Traptrix monster, I think. So setting the Holtia, because he was drolled, so he's wasn't able to add it to hand, but setting the Holtia, activating Holtea by discarding Imperm. Imperm is actually pretty good against branded, but if you're not able to make combo, then I guess you gotta just discard it. So it looks like he's ending on Reflesia Link 1 and he had anti spell. Is there counterplay to this? I think if you were sitting on Reflesia, the anti spell is probably too strong. Although maybe he has something he thinks he can sit on and not be ODK'd, or just like set some cards and be able to live through the following turn. But Traptrix actually does have some ability to OTK these days. So yeah, every time I check the audio to see if I can understand what's going on from the audio, it's just everybody else that's playing in the store at the same time. So I don't know. And just from looking at this opening board, it looks like this game might be a foregone conclusion unless there's something cited in that. The thing is, like, if you're sitting on Reflegia, it's not like you could have drawn Nib anyhow. Because if you drew Nib, um, Reflegia has access to the one that negates a monster effect that was activated in the hand and burns for 1,000 or something like that. So probably that specific combination of, if you're going first as Traptrix against Branded and you have both Anti-Spell and Reflegia, maybe there isn't much counterplay to that. Unless I guess you've drawn like you can't even draw Dark Ruler because you can't under Anti-Spell. What can you do? Floodgates. Okay, so game 3, assuming Omari will be going first. So fusion deployment to start off with, same as with the first game. I believe he reveals Dusk Dragon there. See if we could peep at what Maurice is looking at on his phone. Blazing Cartesia comes out. And so Cartesia and Dark Magician, which I believe is the only target that he. Something is going on with this camera, dude. I believe that's the only target that he uses for Dragoon, because the other dragon is Fallen of Albaz. But anyhow, Dust Dragon comes out on field. The way Maurice's phone is placed on top of his cards suggests to me that perhaps he does not have many hand traps, or maybe that's just part of the bluff. So it looks like we have a bit of a Sarnair dump situation, maybe. Speed this up a little bit more. Big think going on. Okay, branded retribution is placed into the grave. Standard stuff here. Unless there's a problem. I don't know if when people pick up stuff from the grave is because there's like a ruling question, or if you meant just malicious bot or what. Oh, that was a horrible hand. Let's slow this down a little bit. Heading on Oni Dust Dragon set card. I'm curious what that set card is. If it's branded opening or if it's something that he added in. But anyhow, we have an immediate Putika into Link 1 with a Parallel Exceed in hand for easy extension. I can see why Omari was thinking long if he was struggling to figure. If he only had very limited resources. Is that a Forbidden Chalice I see there? If he had very limited resources and he was trying to figure out what's the. Oh no, it's a Super Poly. Yeah, maybe he was just trying to figure out how do I not lose if I can only make one monster. but we do have a Super Poly activation and resolution with a Garura on the field, level 6. Good way to make Beatrice in Tearlaments. And so, although he had a bad hand, it looks like the Super Poly is enough because that took away quite a lot of cards. That's a secret Super Poly too. Very nice, very nice. So on attack declaration, I assume we have a whole Tia, which does not have to discard since it's not using its effect this turn. I guess trying to avoid that double damage from Garura because it does have double battle damage, which sometimes people forget about. So Holtia destroyed. Does have a grave effect. I don't remember if that's the one that you can banish it from grave to special one. So a big think here from Maurice and friends. Activating Pot of Prosperity. Big Ash Blossom. Now, that man, he dropped that Ash so fast. If I had only banished 3 and he already dropped Ash, I was leaving that 3 banish and not banishing the whole 6. But Maurice plays the honest way, apparently, and banishes all 6. So looks like we have. Oh, I thought he might have been activating Holtia from grave or something, or maybe they're discussing what exactly the card does. So Holtia banished from grave, called by the grave. So I think what's going on here is he's banished Holtia from grave as cost to target a Tratrix monster in grave to special summon it, and Omari has chain called by to banish the target. I think is what is going on here. Okay, so an XYZ with no materials, with the field spell, which I don't think is doing anything now, and still a Dust Dragon on board, but fusion deployment. That is an XYZ monster. So I think he could fusion deployment for Albaz and discard to make Mirror Jade, but okay, it gets Ash Blossomed. And he has 2 cards left in hand. I mean, if he did have Branded Fusion in hand, then he would have wanted the fusion deployment to be ashed. But since he didn't have a very strong start, I think it's a pretty good bet to think that he doesn't have Branded Fusion because he would have had to have specifically drawn that one card. So okay, it looks like we are having a Guardian Chimera. But doesn't this only get its effect to pop if it's made from a spell card? Because it looks like he's using Cartesia to use the 2 cards on board and the Lubellion in hand. I think that's what happened, right? He probably thought that he could get the pop and draw, but you can't if it's not summoned with a spell effect. And then that XYZ, the name that I don't remember, when something happens with a card, it is able to attach one. I don't remember every effect in the game, guys. So I think this one that he's summoning now is Mantis, the Tratrix card. And if Omari's sitting, it looks like 1 card in hand. It's not looking very good, guys, for Branded right now. So Link 1, whenever you see Link 1 and some kind of Tratrix effect, that's usually big combo. So that looks like a Floodgate right now, or a Holtea being set, and a Floodgate in hand. Floodgate Trap Hole, I mean. So Holtea discarding, because he's using it this turn. He has Floodgate in grave. Traptrix does have access to resetting stuff in grave, so it's not that the Floodgate is gone forever. Floodgate is kind of weird against Branded because with fusion mechanics specifically, you can access your face down monsters, but still could be useful sometimes. So Looks like I don't know if this is Dusk Dragon that is activating here to bring out Quiritus to prevent an OTK with the attack reduction effect, thereby also leaving Chimera on the field. That may be the situation here. Looks like he's thinking about whether to make a rank 4 or not. There is a way to use one of the Link 3 monsters for OTK, but I don't think you can do that through Quiritus. So, okay, he makes Baguska again. I guess so he has no way to OTK through Quiritus. So I guess Omari successfully buys himself some time, and he's probably hoping for a very good draw. Because I don't know what he does through Baguska. Looks like some Baguska maintenance cost being paid here. But he still has the same issue for now against Quiritus where he can't attack for game. And if he switches Baguska to attack, I mean he could maybe get over it with a Link Monster. I don't know if he intends to link an attack over it to get rid of it so that it can't use its effect, the Quiritus main phase effect, to change attacks to 0. And obviously Traptrix isn't playing any fusions, so it's not like he's gonna have something he can make that will survive the attack to 0 effect. So just sits on Baguska. Guess Feather Duster, not the card Omari wants to have right now. And it looks like last game. Yeah, I don't even know what he needed to draw at that point to continue surviving. So Omari takes the first match, sorry. So Maurice and Friends is up 1 against Cookout. Okay, so now we have the second match, Maurice and Friends against Cookout. And we're starting with Pot of Prosperity. Let's just so the video starts cut in here, but nothing else happened. And he, I think, adds Parallel Exceed to hand. So game 1 was Maurice against Omari, and Maurice won 2-1. So now it is Maurice against Damani, I believe, starting with the Link 1, making the Link 1 off of I believe, the Extender Traptrix monster. So not ideal, but he does have multiple extenders because he has Parallel Exceed off of the Prosperity, which he only banished 3 off of, so his hand probably wasn't horrible. He probably thought he just needed one more card to continue playing. And he does have a Holtea. So hand full of extenders so far. The Traptrick extender, the Parallel off of Prosperity, the Holtea. So he does make Rafflesia. He has his Link 1 in rotation. And it seems like there are no hand traps on Damani's side. But I think normally when he plays Flu, he doesn't play that many hand traps, or he plays board breakers. Flu's a deck that's known for not having a huge amount of flex spots. So Baguska, pretty good against Flu. Now, this is actually poetic justice if you're a Flu player and you have to play into a Baguska, because that's what MPen does to normal, everyday, hardworking, honest fellows that try to play Yu-Gi-Oh! So we have Rafflesia set. Rafflesia in defense. Obviously can't use its effects because of Baguska, but if you can't get over the Baguska, it doesn't matter. And if the opponent had like an Imperm or something, even though it would have triggered his Sarah, the Link 1, at least he could have played if he stopped the Baguska, but then he still would have had the Rafflesia. So if you have a couple cards set, if you're sitting on Baguska and you have a Rafflesia, I don't know what you're supposed to do. So pretty quick game 1. Going to Maurice. So Maurice and Friends looking pretty good so far. Let's get through the sighting process. Okay, so starting with Rubina. And the Mani plays this Simorg variant for some extra normals, extra chain blocking stuff here. Obviously doesn't work against Imperm. So Imperm, still a very, very good card. I mean, the thing is, like, with Imperm versus Ash, or like Imperm and Veiler versus Ash, is you can dodge the Veiler, which is what we're seeing right here with Advent. so that the target is not on the field at resolution, so Veiler doesn't resolve. Um, but it is you can potentially chain block Veilers and Ashes in Flu, especially with the Samorg engine. Usually, it's easier to chain block once you have some kind of Banish Bird in rotation. But I mean, you kind of still have to use the Veiler, like especially if it was the only card in your hand. You kind of want to see, like you could wait until Empen, because if the opponent has Advent, they probably don't want to banish the Empen, and so the Empen won't get Dreaming Town, which is usually how their engine starts rolling. Otherwise, they have to they're preying on your normal summon with map, so it's an option. But I mean, if they don't have the Advent, which is a pretty low chance, 33% or so, if you're playing 3, which you are. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's incorrect to drop the Veiler there. It's just like very, very high reward if it resolves. But anyhow, Empen is on the field. There is map. There is Dreaming Town. There is an unknown set card, and I cannot see if there's something else in Damani's hand or not. Not sure. So we're starting with Evenly, which is Debarrier. Debarrier was the set card. So obviously Debarrier cannot call links, but he, I assume, would have called XYZ. So Debarrier is one of those cards that you still get a huge amount of value from the card if it's destroyed, because it's just a flip card that has a lingering effect till the end of the turn. So Maurice dig in only for 3 with Prosperity. Looks like he's going to pick up the field spell. Obviously, Dark Ruler has nothing to hit. And the other card is the Trap Tricks Extender. So what he adds should tell Damani something about his hand. If he adds the Extender, maybe his engine isn't looking that good in hand, and he needs something to be able to play through. But because Damani got to keep 1 card from the evenly match, that's Dreaming Town. So it's just starting over the engine all over again. Looks like we're seeing a Floodgate here, but we've seen from the first match against Omari that Floodgate is often a card that's just searched to be discard fodder for Holtia so that you can continue comboing, and then have Floodgate in the grave, either because you don't need that card or because you intend on getting access to it later with the Trap Tricks engine, because they can set from grave. Anyhow, some standard stuff here. So Rabina, Eaglin, Empen, the typical helmet play, no bias. Empen resolving. I think maybe he added Rabina back to hand and left Eaglin and banished, but I have him kind of quick, so I'm not 100% sure. And it looks like he's adding the continuous spell. I think that might be unexplored winds. Obviously, it's the opponent's turn, so he can't use it right now, but if he has engine rolling and the opponent can't make XYZs, then he's probably thinking that he is, in fact, going to be able to play on the next turn. So we have a Holtea activating here, and as I was just saying, Floodgate, it was the discard fodder. I don't know if he. I'm assuming that he called XYZ because we didn't have audio. I think he forgot for a second, and that's why he was going to place as if he was going to overlay. But I mean, couldn't he have made the link 1 and then activated Holtea? I don't know if I missed something or if that was a misplay, because I think if he made the link 1 first with Mermello. Oh no, because of Empen, so it didn't matter. It didn't matter because of Empen. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so duality. I think that was map that he chose, but it's just some classic Empen gameplay here, guys. And Maurice doesn't look too happy on the right hand side. So an even 1-1. Dumani with his nib token. Oops, skip forward a little too fast, guys. So Maurice will be going first. We see anti-spell again in his hand, which was the blowout card on top of Baguska, I think it was, or Rafflesia, sorry, against Omari. One of the two. So we have I think that is a Mantis into Serra, and again the Parallel Exceed extender, especially from deck. I was gonna say I'm curious if he plays two or three because I've seen some builds that only play two, but he's been drawing this card pretty frequently, or at least seeing it off of Prosperity. So I think he probably plays three, and it is basically a combo deck. So makes sense that you want to see as many extenders as possible. So Bakuska in defense, anti spell, flit, Serra unaffected by Baguska, chaining Advent to anti spell, otherwise he's not using it, banishing the Rabina, which means it is now in rotation. And I guess he can add it to hand if he summons a bird, but the bird isn't gonna be able to act. The bird on the field isn't gonna be able to activate. So he has Eaglin in hand. Obviously, he's not. Whose folder is that? Well, you might as well get through somebody's folder in the middle of Iron Man. Maurice, what is bad? Okay, so setting 3. Specialing Extender. No evenly matched drawn by Damani. Which was probably one of the few things you could do. Although, if you evenly matched, you keep Serra, trigger Serra. Yeah, it's always this anti-spell and something. Like whether like Rafflesia is maybe not as good against Flu as against some other decks. But Baguska anti-spell just seems incredible after sighting. So 2 set cards here for Maurice. 3 set cards for Damani. Perhaps there's a board breaker set amongst them. Perhaps there's a lightning storm, but I guess there's not actually because we see Eaglin summoned and now banished. So he goes for Anima. I guess you could consider you could maybe consider it a misplay to have placed something in the Anima zone because since Flu doesn't use their extra deck, it is a card that is always in their extra deck just in case, and because there's Baguska on the field, there are going to be no effects. So maybe that's a bit of a misplay. He does have the imperm for it, which he shouldn't have needed to activate, but because he has Serra, he's going to be able to trigger. And I think that he was declaring Mermello's mandatory effect and then pointing to Baguska because it cannot resolve. And because Damani started with an Eaglin into Anima, I'm assuming that his set cards are engine cards, which don't do anything against Baguska. That's my assumption here. So we see a Nightmare Phoenix. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like don't you know? I mean, maybe he thinks he can't kill Damani this turn, and so he's just trying to get rid of cards that he's assuming are engine. But if there is a way to ODK, there's no reason to make Phoenix, right? Unless Phoenix is his only link to play going up into Unicorn access code. I'm not sure. Let's see what happens here. So Baguska is going to attack. So I guess he decided he doesn't have a way to ODK, or he doesn't want to ODK. And obviously spell top decks by the opponent are useless because of anti-spell still. We do see a Dreaming Town. Maurice uh Maurice, Maurice obviously not feeling too happy because he switched Baguska. No, okay, Maurice, this was definitely a misplay because if this is if he knew he couldn't OTK, why would you put Baguska in attack? because you knew that the stuff he put there, like his set cards that you're getting rid of Nightmare Phoenix, if you can't kill him and you're playing the resource game, the card advantage game, you should leave the Baguska in defense because you're not killing him anyhow. Unless I missed something and Damani was already at lower HP. But we do see the Dreaming Town's Grave effect booking all of the non-link monsters. It's just a classic Maurice play here, fellas. So Unexplored Winds being added here, I think off of MPen. And this may actually just be game, depending on... Okay, actually, maybe there are two spell cards in Damani's hand. It looks like... Is there a trap card in there? I'm not sure what the last one I saw was. But MPen is on the field, which is a big deal. You can't just flip Baguska back into defense position if you were to get through this. I believe he's summoning a Pudica. I'll speed up a little bit. Yeah, so just a pretty major misplay of very preemptively flipping the Baguska instead of completely stifling all resources from your opponent. I think most Trap Trick builds do play the Unicorn as well if they're playing Phoenix, because you definitely can make access code with this deck. And Maurice, obviously, from his body language, you can tell he's not very happy with what he's done. Set Prosperity here, banishing 6. Obviously, not an evenly matched situation because he already has MPen on field. There's a Snowl, I believe that's an Eaglin and a map. So he does take the map. And I think that's one of those some more cards. Okay, I guess that pops a face up card or Speller Trap. Don't know what that does. Hope I never see it again. And Rabina being summoned means that this game may just be over. Especially with the spell, the continuous spell on field. Maurice arms crossed. Vex. Toucan on field. This is when you see this happening and you have no response, that's when you kind of know that you're not beating Flu, to be honest. When they already have an MPen on field and then the engine starts rolling, they have banish cards, multiple Big Bird access, and you're sitting there with your arms crossed, thinking about the time you put Baguska in attack position. What can you do? So, I mean, I would guess that this is how the game ends here. So we do have... Is that a second Dreaming Town? Or was that a counter trap that I saw? I didn't see. I think it was a second Dreaming Town. So the only cards left face up are attack position monsters that cannot activate their effects. So Dreaming Town and Unexplored Winds, 2 MPens, Eaglin. There's no way. There's no way that you get past this. Like, if there were no MPens and you maybe had like a Unicorn access code play, but there's just too much. It wasn't even like there was a set imperm for one of the MPens, which wouldn't have been enough anyhow. If it was in the Unexplored Winds column, there's just too much engine in rotation. But it's the last game of his. This is last life. You only have one life in an Iron Man, so he's obviously playing it out. Perhaps he thought that he could have specialed the Pudica in defense, like maybe gotten access to that to banish a card. But yeah, so Damani wins. Misplay by Maurice by turning the Baguska to attack. Otherwise, I'm 100% sure he would have won that game. So that's game 2 in the Iron Man. Damani takes it 2-1 against Maurice. Okay, so here we have the third match, which I believe is Jamar versus Damani. And I think Jamar is on Pearly. Damani obviously on Flu. We saw him last game winning because of that mistake that Maurice made with Baguska that got the Flu engine just completely rolling. We'll skip ahead here a little bit and see who wins the dice roll. Looks like Damani. Pot of Prosperity, obviously, for 6. Now, Pearly, if I understand correctly, was there's an Ash on the Prosperity, immediately followed by Duality here, adding Advent, which um, suggests that he has some engine in his hand already. And immediately using the Advent, which means that maybe he doesn't have really good engine in hand, and banishing Apex Avian to get access to Rabina. He does have map, he does reveal Rabina, and banishes the Eaglin. So we see the Rabina there, and it immediately Veilered. So because Advent was already used, you know that the Veiler, and also an Imperm. So Ash, Veiler, and Imperm, and Damani had to start with Advent. So when you know that they can't dodge it unless he also has Book of Moon, but I mean the chance of him drawing both Book of Moon and also having Advent access is pretty low. So 3-hand traps is nice. Now with Pearly, I am not super familiar with this very cringy deck. But from what I understand, up until the recent wave of support, it was generally considered a deck that could only really go second. And now it has the ability to go first. I'm not super familiar, but I believe this one, Perlili, or Perlili, however you say it, I believe that's the one that can attach from the grave. You can summon an XYZ by using one of the spell cards from the grave as material. I'm not super familiar with the game plan for this deck, but I know Plump. I think Plump is pretty good for stacking up materials because if it's attacked, then you can attach 2 from the grave. Experly Noir can bounce, and if it has 5, it's like a Towers. Well, not really a Towers, it's like a Psychic and Punisher, because I think it's only unaffected by activated effects. Um, and then, so it looks like he's playing the Dark World engine there. I think it's used because they have some discards, and if you discard the Dark World monster, you just get another one, just like a free discard instead of losing card advantage. I'm not sure if that's standard or not. But so I think he's using the Perlili. Yeah, so attach that one from the grave to XYZ. That one looks like Plump. I don't like these creatures. I'm not gonna lie. This dog in my yard killed my rooster, and didn't kill the cat that I don't like that troubles the rooster. And now I'm watching Jamar play cats. So, and the baby, so there's X Pearly Noir, which is the towers, and then there's I think just the regular Pearly Noir, which also can be the X Pearly Noir. I believe it places on the bottom of the deck. I'm not sure if the Pearly Noir also places on the bottom of the deck. But anyhow, so the game plan here of attaching 17 million materials to these cats, I guess, is going ahead as expected. I mean, this looks pretty good from what I understand. Um, the camera angle is slightly cutting off where the map is supposed to be, but it looks like, if he clears the Manny's board, he might be in a pretty good position. Yeah, so it looks like that's just too much advantage. So game 1 goes to Jamar on Pearly. I'm very sad that this dog killed my rooster because it was a good looking rooster too. Not like these little chickens that you see by Chefette drive through, scrawny and bony. It was a bit nice. It was a big rooster, a colorful one. Okay. Oops. Okay. Part of prosperity. Banishing 6. Ash again. Repeated game 1. Duality again. Repeated game 1. Wait, what did he add to hand? Okay, looks like the Rabina. Okay. So duality adding Rabina to hand, I think. Shuffling the deck. I believe he has some. I can't see what field spell that is because it's kind of cut off. I don't know if it's. Okay, I guess it's map. Because he's revealing a banishing. But he does play the Samort field spell, so that's why I wasn't sure. Let's see if Jamar has the Effect Veiler Imperm Ash triple combo again. Looks like he doesn't because Eaglin is resolving and we have Empen. Rabina goes back to hand, presumably Chainlink 2, although if Jamar had a hand trap, he probably would have used it by now. So we have Dreaming Town access. Domani's hand is looking pretty big. We know one of those cards is Rabina. We know one of the set cards is Dreaming Town. We don't know the other set card. I can't see what's in Domani's hand. Okay, Lightning Storm. I think that's a dimensional barrier, which is unfortunate because, I mean, it is one of the cards that Fluke can side in. We saw that Domani had that card in his deck. You could maybe wonder, do you think that if he has D-Barrier, you should just Lightning Storm call monsters and get rid of one M-Pen and accept the Dreaming Town? Because the Dreaming Town is basically going to be another M-Pen anyhow, or I mean, it could be something else too. But if he has D-Barrier, he's going to chain it, so you get no value off the Lightning Storm. And I don't know how Pearly is supposed to play through D-Barrier. But we have some engine going off here. We have Apex Avian going off here. Obviously, no need to immediately shotgun the Apex Avian if the opponent hasn't tried to leave main phase. Although sometimes, like, it's a good way to bait it if your opponent knows that you play evenly, or maybe they don't, but you threaten end of main and you try to get them to bring out the Apex Avian because you don't think you can deal with a Ryza. That can often be a decent play. Anyhow, we have the Perlili or Perlili. I don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce these names, dude. The names are so dumb too. We have a Perlili situation going on here with an Apex Avian negate, or is he putting it back on board? Not sure. Okay, looks like he's negated the spell card. Perlili or Perlili sitting on field. Is that one card left in hand? I mean, if that's one card left in hand, are these two mats? Did I just realize? Are they playing with two mats on top of each other, and one of them is hanging off the table? It was a set card. It is Feather Dustered. Chaining the set card. I'll be honest, I don't know what that is. Jamar's Spell and Trap card zone is hanging off the table. Is hanging off the table. So it looks like that's game one to Damani. We're gonna skip ahead here. I'm curious if Damani is playing, if Jamar is playing a going second build. If that's still popular at all. Why is the mat still hanging off the table? We need to have people supervising these duelists. And it's not even hanging off the same amount. Like the left side on Jamar's side is hanging off less than the right side. Oh, bit of a. We'll have to continue in the next video, I guess. Okay, so the video was split, but Damani wins the first game or the previous game, and I am curious if Jamara was just saying if he. No, okay, so question answered. He's going first. It just looks like the mat is being pulled further and further off the table. How does no one notice this? Big thinking going on here in the final game. And I don't know what the names of the spell cards are. It's just a bunch of cats on them. Okay, the mat is fixed. The mat is fixed, and the camera is rinsed about a little bit. So that this one, I know that you add a random card. You pick 3 from deck, and you add a random card. So that's why Damani rolled the dice. Okay. And the Perlily, right? That's the one that uses the spell in the grave to rank up. So this is what brings out the Noir. Okay. And now we have a bit of an excavation going on here. That's from the original Pearly card where you excavate. Now that was a bit too far off the screen for me to see what was excavated. But he is going to be able to attach materials to this card. Now I believe that this Noir, the rank 2, I believe that this one, he can spin a card on the opponent's field as a quick effect if he has a level 1 Pearly monster attached as material. I think. So we have an evenly matched, which okay. I honestly can't say on what he should have can't comment on what he should have kept because I'm not super familiar with the spell card. I was looking at the cards before the match. I was reading them, and all these spells look the same. So we have unexplored winds here. Activating it that early suggests he may be using the draw effect. So I think that's one of those Samorg engine cards, an M-Pen. She's going to draw 2. So Jamar is just probably hoping that he just draws badly. I don't know if Jamar has a hand off camera, or if that's the only card that he has on field. No. He does have a hand. He does have maybe 2 cards in hand. Let's fast forward a little bit here, or not fast forward, speed up a little bit here. So there, it looks like there's an eagle in hand and something else. Speed up a little bit more. Okay, so there's the eaglin. Maybe 3 times is just the speed for this match. So we have eaglin. We can see an M-Pen now off the eaglin. And using the opponent's card as tribute fodder to bring out the M-Pen. I'm not sure what you're supposed to... I don't think there's anything you could have done about that. So maybe it just didn't matter what he'd kept. So now with M-Pen on field, let's see... 3 cards in Jamar's hand, I think. Is it 1 card in Damani, 2 cards in Damani's hand? We see a Feather Duster. Now I assume... So if there's a Feather Duster here, I guess he does have a play. But, I mean... Oh, so there was a Dreaming Town off the camera this entire time. I mean, it made sense because he summoned M-Pen, so obviously he was going to search, but like it wasn't on camera. But so there is a Dreaming Town. He Feather Dusters to force the Dreaming Town. So Dreaming Town, obviously, in Unexplored Winds is pretty OP. Damani decides to sit on the Avian. And we have an Eaglin and a Ryza coming up here. But Ryza without Unexplored Winds, even though it's very good, it's not as devastating. Now there's a set card. I guess if the Jamar is ending on a set card, this is looking like oh no, sorry. So we have a Book of Moon. I think so. When they fixed the camera a little bit, you could see what was in the last zones. There's the snow not being used as the discard engine, but attacking over the Eaglin. And I mean, obviously, if the Eaglin gets banished, you can always just get it back. But maybe he's thinking the opponent had a Ryza, and maybe he's not going to be able to make Ryza if he loses a material on the field because he doesn't have access to Unexplored Winds. Maybe that is the thought process. But if there's an Avian on the field and you have only 1 set card, and the game is this far in, the last card in hand is probably not an interruption, and even if it is, there's an Apex Avian. So that one set card, which may be another Book of Moon or something, I don't know, is probably just going to lose to the Avian. So we have the Snell here. I wonder if Damani is playing his Starlight Snell. I'm pretty sure he has a Starlight Snell, or if he's just playing the regular one. I don't know why he likes keeping the Starlight in the folder. I'll be playing that all the time if I had a Starlight Snell. It's the best looking card in the entire deck. So we see some of the Samorg engine on field here. Some Imperm action. Okay. And there's the handshake. So now we have the last member of Maurice and Friends, and I am praying to Christ that they fix the camera angle, because half of the screen is somebody's Bigfoot. Somebody's ignorant Bigfoot in the bottom right of the screen, drinking a beverage that I hope is not alcoholic. Um, Now Shola, so this would be Shola against Damani. I know Shola likes those. Those are the tier limits over sleeves. I believe the Mana Moon tier limits over sleeves. And it looks like the game is starting with us only seeing half of the board. So bear with me, fellas. Okay, we've seen a Droll, we see a Samorg, and we can only pray that the camera is fixed at some point. We see an Advent here. Robina in rotation off of the Advent. Life points gained. Snowl in hand. Okay. I don't know if Damani is summoning a monster in the one zone that we cannot see. It looks like that's what might be happening. So there's a mystery monster on the field. There's a set card. There's a set card that we know about. We don't know if there's another set card. Now that I believe is Durandal. Durandal is the one where you can equip to a monster on the field. It doesn't have to be your own monster. It can be your opponent's monster. Noble Arms Durandal. And then I believe it gives you a Fire Warrior monster from your deck. I don't know if it's a 4 or lower or if it's any Fire Warrior. And so he's adding, I think that one is Olgier. There's Olgier and Oliver that look kind of similar. And both of them have effects where I think they're like dumping or searching the equips. So he's specialing it by doing some mystery magic in the graveyard that we cannot see on camera. Interesting choice by Shola to have the oversleeve design on the back side of the card instead of the front side. There's a Dreamy Town here summoning a Robina, and we can only pray that it will be summoned on screen, whatever ends up being summoned. There is a Stree, which actually, Stree may be pretty good in this matchup. If there's something in the grave that Infernobles is trying to access or recycle. And he is indeed banishing a mystery card from Shola's graveyard to summon Apex Avian. Which suggests to me that Infernobles has a way to play around. I mean, obviously they have Synchro Monsters. They don't have to summon the Synchro Monsters in attack. And the Synchro Monsters can pop, like, with, I believe it's Charles, the big one. When an equipped spell is equipped, even if it's during the damage step, you can pop a monster on the field. So they can play around MPen. So maybe that's the thought process that Damani has. Damani also a huge Noble Knight simp, a Giga simp for Noble Knights. Okay, the camera's fixed. Rejoice. So I assume Damani is making some good, he knows what the choke points are because he knows the deck. So Gerfried, this is a pretty sick card in my view. I'm curious if he's playing 3. I know when Pac was testing this online, he started by playing just 1, and then he decided to play 3. But, a card that you can special summon, and that, has like a negate, that I believe can equip a monster on field if it attacks, seems pretty good to me. And in this case, it functions as an extender, so it looks like he's equipped the Snowl. So I guess that was the mystery monster on the field that we didn't see summoned, and now there's just a map on field. But the thing about the monster negate that Gearfried has is if the Manny already has birds banished, he will probably just chain block the whole way through so that the Rabina, for example, or whatever he's summoning on field will be able to resolve and the engine can still roll. That being said, negating, for example, an Eaglin in the banished zone is still good if he doesn't have another way to get Eaglin in rotation because he then can't access a big bird. So even though you can chain block against it, obviously still a pretty good card in terms of the card economy game and trying to stop the flu engine from being in full rotation. So, but I'm also having access to the Samorg engine here is provides additional opportunity for chain blocks. So we have another Stree here. Now we can see the grave. Is that Durandal that he targeted to banish? I'm not sure. I can't see it at this angle. But he did banish one of the equip spells. And he's searching for Dreaming Town off of Empen. Somebody's reading the Gearfried. Durandal, one of the cards that Vanquish Soul players have been testing out as a way to get access to Razin, because the deck loses if it doesn't have access to it. And has a lot of synergy with playing a Kashtira engine in Vanquish Soul. Because it means even if you go first, you can just equip it to your cash monster before you use your normal summon and still get access to Razin. So, pretty good card. Now we're seeing what's happening here with the Ryza. Again, I can't actually hear what's happening through the audio, so I'm just kind of figuring out what's going on based on how they move the cards. I'm not sure what they're discussing. Let me see if I can get any glimpse into the audio. Oh, it is the Starlight Snell. I've just seen with him changing the position of it was the Starlight Snell. Now, okay, my assumption based on what's just happened here is that Ryza was the last thing in the chain, and Gearfried negated and destroyed the Ryza. There's still an Empen on field because I don't know if we don't know, but the Ryza is engraved. So anyhow, we see Renaud. We also see an Ash Blossom. Renaud, one of those cards that was used in packages and other decks that were playing Isolde. Pretty popular card. I think that may also have been played in Libromancer even at one point for something or the other. Anyhow, we also see Algier access. I believe that's Algier and not Oliver. He has like some birds or something around him. Now this is a much cooler deck, guys, than Pearly with these stupid cats. And for nobles, have some pretty Chad monsters. The Charles guy, the new Charlemagne guy. The insane thing about this Link 1, which uses their synchro as material, is that it doesn't just gain it doesn't replace its effect with the original effect of the synchro monster that's able to pop. It gains the effect. So it still has its normal effect, which allows it to gain a negate. I believe it's a spell or trap negate. And it's not even once per name in a turn. So you can have two of the Link 1s and they have all of their effects. But the cards look pretty cool. These the warriors and stuff, and the theme of like the equip spells are like the relics in the museum or whatever. Much cooler than Pearly. Much cooler than Birds. So shout out to Shola. Shola plays some nice decks. Man used to play Sword Soul. When I was playing Sword Soul, man played Tears. I was playing Tears. Man was playing Infernobles. Shola plays some nice decks. So the Synchro 5 on field, um, I wonder how many of those he plays. I don't know if there's a standard ratio on that one. I think I've seen one. I think I've seen two. I believe that one is one of the searchers. And so I'd said previously, like because the deck has synchro monsters, it's not like with trap tricks where it's harder to get value out of your XYZs in defense in terms of trying to make an offensive play. You know, you might still be able to make a synchro with an equip spell and get a pop on the end pen or on a set card or on the snell or something. I think the snell had already used this effect. I believe is trying to book the synchro monster, but now we have the one of the other I think level 5 synchro monsters bringing out Gearfried. Um, so I think that they can't use their effects, right? Because I don't think that he's negated the M pen, and he also can't attack over it um, because of M pen's effect. So he's just attacking the little birds. I don't think we know what the set card is, but we do see the woman, whatever that card is called, the woman Synchro 5 coming back. Let me actually just double check real quick what the woman does. Let's look up Noble Knights. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Angelica, Princess of Noble Arms. So if it's summoned, it adds Horn of Oliphant or a card that mentions in for Noble Knight Emperor Charles from your deck to your hand. When a card or effect is activated, it targets this card on the field, or when this card is targeted for an attack. Quick effect. You can send a Fire Warrior monster from your deck to the grave, and if you do, banish this card until the end phase. Then you can special summon one Roland monster from your deck or extra deck. So it has to be targeted by an effect or for an attack. Otherwise, it's just a searcher for something that mentions Charles. Okay. Okay. Back to the game. I'm not sure who has the clear advantage here. Both players do have a good number of cards. Both players do have a decent amount of card economy. But in terms of effects that can actually be activated, there is an M pen and a Snell on board. We do see an Imperm though. And if there's no way to play around this Imperm, there is another M pen. I was about to say, if there wasn't a way to play around the Imperm, maybe at least you could stop the Flu Engine temporarily and be able to do something. But I don't know with these special summon attack position monsters how you're supposed to deal with M-Pens that can just half your attack. That's the crazy thing about M-Pen, is it's not just a floodgate, but it also could just get over your monster. So is that Roland that he's attacking there? The level 5 synchro, doing some life point calculation. Synchro in the grave. I think he was double checking that was another of the Angelica. Probably wanted to just double check if he attacks it while it's face down, does it get its effect? But since it was targeted for attack when it was face down, I assume that effect wouldn't be able to trigger because I believe it triggers on the declaration when you target it for attack. So things looking pretty good for Flu right now. But the other Angelica was able to save itself because it was face up, so it could banish itself until the end and then come back. I think I think that may have been Oliver over there with a Roland. With a Roland coming back, Durandal for a quick search, having access to another Renaud. Maybe I should turn down the speed a little bit. Joe's playing fast. And I believe that's Gearfried. There's a little bit of glare, but I believe that card that he has flip face up over there is a Garfried. But Snowl, booking monsters on field, pretty underrated card in my opinion. I know that Flute doesn't have a lot of flex spots, so many decks don't play it. But especially in a cash meta, books are obviously really good. And the cash cards can just bring themselves in defense anyhow. So it's not like Empen is a death sentence for cash, although obviously, being able to use like Fenrir's Banish on attack is nice. So still a pretty good card, especially when it's Starlight, and it's the best looking card in the entire deck. But yeah, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do about two Empens in a Snell that's booking half of your monsters when you try to make a play. So there's that game. And we may be going on to the next video here shortly. Okay, so I apologize for the audio jumping around a little bit and the video starting out of nowhere, but this is what the recordings are. I think there's like some gaps between recordings, and the game jumped ahead a little bit. So, but this is the next game with Shola against Domani. So Shola lost the last game to Domani. I believe Domani had two Mpens and one Snell on field. And this is the following game where Shola went first and did the connector, Neospacian, Aquadolphin combo. So going into an Isolde line here. So yeah, there's no video missing in the edit. This is the actual raw footage jumping from the last segment where they packed up after Domani had double Empen Snell on board. And this is the nearest available clip since then. So we see Fire Flint Lady and Grave. This is all part of that standard combo with Isolde. And then we have the that level 1 monster that is always treated as an Infernoble card. So it looked like Damani actually had gone first and had no. Again, I have no idea what happened because the videos. This is when the recording started, but I guess Damani went first with a D barrier. So going into the Link monster with Renaud coming out here, searching. And this Link card, I don't remember the name of that card, but it's gotten somewhat popular recently, I believe, because it can pop a Speller Trap, which you saw was the second debarrier. Now, if I had two debarriers, I probably would not have set both. And okay, there's the handshake from Damani, so Shola wins the match. But yeah, I wouldn't have. I mean, it didn't matter in this match, but probably wouldn't set both in case you live. But the opponent has some way to clear your board. Debarrier is trainable anyhow, so might as well have kept the second one. But yeah, it didn't matter here. So we're gonna go straight into Ted versus Shola, and this should be, I think, the last video. I hope that we have everything in this recording because this is the last one that I have. Let's skip forward a little bit here. Only 25-minute video. 20 minutes with Ted and Shola. I hope this is everything, fellas. All right, so Shola going first. We have Olgier. I don't know how familiar Ted is with Infernobles because the support, I believe the support was from Dune, which you can see Duelist Nexus right in the top of the screen there. So probably people haven't been playing against this deck very much, unless you were testing online and saw people playing it or whatever. Looks like Ted is big thinking here. I assume Ted is playing Sprite, and I assume that means Hand Trap Sprite. We do see a Droll there, game 1, so main deck Droll by Ted. Droll, pretty insane card. One of the cards that debatably should be banned because it's a lingering effect. Ted reading Durandal. That's the one we saw from the first game Shola played, where you can equip it to a monster to add a. I believe it's a. I don't know if it's level 4 or lower or any fire warrior. I think it might be level 4 or lower fire warrior. Pretty crazy how much search this deck has. Going into Angelica, because they also have that card. I don't know if it's played. It seems pretty broken. Heritage of the Chalice. That card that is like, not only can it be a rota, but it can also get any of the equip spells. The only downside I think with this deck is that maybe they don't have a huge amount of flex spots. So maybe they can play through a lot of stuff going first. Thank God there's no more smoke grenade. But I'm curious what the sighting patterns are like when you're going second. But we do see Charles here. So I wonder if that means we're gonna see a Link 1 gaining Charles's effect. Now this card seems very good against Sprite, because if he can get the Charles's effect that the Link 1 Charlemagne, so Charlemagne the Link 1, if he can pop in the opponent's turn, like if like let's say the Sprite player has like just a blue and jet in their hand for engine and they have to normal summon one, or like they summon gigantic or whatever, if you can get the pop in their turn, that seems pretty good against Sprite. And then obviously if they have like starter or smashers or whatever, you use the negate on that. I've never seen this matchup before though, but since Dune is still new, I haven't seen a huge amount of Infernobles either. Quite a few equip cards on the field here. Roland and Grave. I believe he's explaining what these cards do when they're equipped. I think that there's one that stops it from being targetable. I believe that there's a 500 attack gain. Durandal doesn't give it any particular effect. And perhaps there's another equipped monster that I don't know the effect of. But I mean, through Droll, so starting with Catty, now this would be the part where if he does have the option to pop, he would do that, but he doesn't because his zones were full. So he couldn't just equip something to it and use the pop, but he does have Book of Moon, which is functionally the same thing against Sprite. So Ted now using Pot of Prosperity. I believe that Shola can negate this if he would like. And I think that you should negate this just because if you start by normal summoning Catty and you get booked, it means that you must have an extender. You use your normal summon, you have to have starter. Um, and he does negate it. I believe that that's why he's sending Charles to the grave. Because the thing is, if you allow this to resolve, and I don't know, maybe the opponent, I don't know if Ted also plays board breakers. He could have already had a starter in hand, I guess, and he was trying to bait the negate. So maybe you don't really know exactly what you're supposed to do. Maybe it's not clear what the correct play is there, but I feel like if your opponent starts by summoning Catty, they probably don't have a very good hand unless there's some insane bluffing going on. So game one going to Shola. Sighting. Not too many minutes left in this video, so maybe we're gonna see a quick 2-0 here. Let's find out. Assuming Ted is going first. There actually was a Sprite build I was testing for going second only. That was very good, but that was right before Gamma was hit, and that was a pretty big blow to that version of the deck. Big think coming out from Ted with about 6 minutes left on the clock. Summoning Angler. Okay, summoning Jet. Jet effect to add the trap. If he's adding the trap, either he has an extender in hand or this is a mistake. Because if you had like an ogre or an imperm, a veiler or something, if the opponent allows your jet to resolve and you have no extender, I feel like gigantic is a very very risky play. but he does have the Ibli lock lined up. To be honest, I don't actually know how good that is against Infernobles. I feel like they could just link, because they have a lot of normal summons. It's not like Kashtira where you have awkward level 7s that you can't special. So, anyhow, he is going for the Melfi combo here. Melfi of the Forest. And that is the Catty. Melfi Catty. Sprind does have a material for an XYZ monster that he can detach for a bounce. There is a starter. There is a starter. So I guess he did have the extender. So actually, like a pretty decent hand that can play around hand traps, but we didn't actually see any hand traps, so it didn't matter. But so I kind of like the sequencing from Ted, because I was saying if he didn't have an extender, this just seems like a very bad play, because if you're gigantic as hit, you lose. But if you do have an extender, it seems like your opponent would have used potentially their only hand trap. Anyhow, there is a carrot on field. It doesn't have to tribute Melfi of the Forest, but it could. It can also tribute Sprite Blue, depending on whether he wants to destroy the thing or not, which is relevant because he's playing against a deck that has equip spells. So, destroying it and not allowing it to resolve would be relevant. I can't imagine that this game finishes in the next minute, so I'm suspecting that there may be a missing part of the video here. But anyhow, so Olgier, I believe, is returned to the hand. There's still an Ibli on field, and that is game to Ted. So I think we're missing the very last game of the Iron Man actually in the recording. So I'll have to check for that.